The summer sun was already heavy on the quiet street when the sight stopped people in their tracks. A small wooden stand, hand-painted letters trembling slightly in the heat, and an 8-year-old girl standing behind it with a shaved head and a yellow dress that looked too bright for the sadness it carried. The sign said 50 cents lemonade, and beneath it, a plea that felt far too big for a child's hands to hold. She was not selling sweetness for pocket money. She was fighting for her life, one cup at a time, and the world around her kept moving as if it did not know how fragile that fight was. If you believe stories like this still matter, if you believe kindness can change a destiny, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel, because the stories we live together are the ones that live on. Her name barely mattered to the passers-by, but her struggle did. Chemotherapy had already taught her pain most adults never learn, stealing her hair, her energy, and the carefree laughter that once filled her days. The lemonade stand was her idea, born not from innocence but from a quiet determination that scared her mother more than the illness itself. Every morning, she would wake with a heaviness in her chest, not just from the treatments, but from knowing how much they cost. The bills stacked up on the kitchen table like an unspoken threat, and she saw them even when adults tried to hide them away. So she stood outside, feet planted in the grass, smiling at strangers while her body fought a war it did not choose. Cars slowed. Some drivers glanced, some looked away. A few stopped, handing over coins and soft smiles, telling her she was brave. Brave was a word she heard often, but it did not make the nausea fade or the fear quiet at night. Still, she kept standing there, because every cup felt like one more step toward tomorrow. The neighborhood watched a child become older than her years, learning patience, disappointment, and hope all at once. Each empty pitcher meant success, but also the reminder that tomorrow she would need to do it again. Then, on an ordinary afternoon that did not announce itself as extraordinary, a familiar car pulled over. The man who stepped out carried the weight of years and success, but his eyes softened the moment they met the small figure behind the stand. He took in the sign, the shaved head, the careful way she stood as if conserving strength. This was not a moment staged for cameras or applause. It was quiet, human, and heavy. The world seemed to pause as he approached, sensing that something was about to shift. The girl looked up, offering the same gentle smile she gave everyone, unaware of how close she was to a turning point. She poured lemonade with hands that trembled just slightly, focusing on not spilling, on doing her job well. The man listened as her story unfolded, not through dramatic words but through the simple truth of her effort. He saw not just a sick child, but a fighter carrying a burden no child should bear. In that instant, something cracked open in him, a reminder of how unfair life could be and how powerful a single choice might become. What happened next did not feel like a miracle at first. There were no fireworks, no loud declarations. There was only compassion turning into action. He stayed longer than expected, asking questions, absorbing every detail, letting the weight of it settle. The girl kept selling lemonade, unaware that the future she was bracing herself for was already beginning to change. Neighbors gathered closer, sensing the importance of the moment without fully understanding it. As days passed, the ripple spread. The story traveled beyond that quiet street, carried by people who could not forget the image of a child fighting cancer with a lemonade stand. Support began to pour in from places she had never seen, from hearts moved by her courage and the unexpected kindness shown to her. Medical bills that once felt like a mountain slowly became manageable. Appointments no longer carried the same terror of cost. Hope, once fragile, began to feel solid. For the girl, the change was subtle but profound. She still faced treatments, still felt fear, but she also felt seen. She learned that the world, harsh as it could be, held room for generosity beyond imagination. She learned that her small stand had become a symbol, not of sickness but of resilience. The man who had stopped that day did not just change her financial reality, he changed the way she saw her place in the world. She was no longer alone in the fight. Time moved forward, and with it came strength she did not know she had. The lemonade stand became a memory, replaced by hospital visits that felt less desperate, more hopeful. Her laughter returned in pieces, cautious at first, then freer. The community watched her grow, not just older but brighter, carrying a story that would follow her long after the scars faded. If this story touched something deep inside you, if it reminded you that one moment of kindness can echo for a lifetime, please take a second near the end of this video to like, share, and subscribe, because these stories deserve to be felt by as many hearts as possible. And before we close, leave a comment below telling us what kindness means to you, because your words might be the hope someone else needs today. In the end, this was never just about lemonade or money or even a famous face stopping by. It was about a child who refused to give up, and a stranger who chose to see her not as a headline, but as a human being worth fighting for. Her destiny changed not because the world suddenly became fair, but because compassion showed up when it mattered most. And somewhere on a quiet street, the echo of that choice still lingers, reminding us that even the smallest stands can hold the power to change a life.